Welcome to part 5 of Project Flatbed 50, where I am building, however you want to think about it, a scale radio-controlled F-350. Last time, what I showed you was a lot of went into painting this body. I showed you the wiring that's behind here. None of that's really changed. Well, actually, none of it has changed. I've just, I've had it there, and I'm using it to figure out how I want to do the interior, which is where all of the work has been done this time around. Let's see. Let me zoom you in a little bit. If you notice, the dashboard is mostly complete. A source, of course, besides some more switches I'm going to put over here, and a steering wheel, and of course I have to put seats in the center console in. But that is the dashboard. This is sort of most of the such is. I have to admit, this isn't actually scale to what an F350 would actually be. This isn't really what an F350 dashboard looks like. But I just put all this stuff in here so I could, have a scale dashboard or scale interior. I did not go as far as to make a completely scale F350, however. But let me show you what happened and maybe explain. Or not happened, but what I did. This is just for soft touchness, so it feels more like a dashboard probably would, or should. It is just fake leather that I picked up from Joann Fabrics, that I cut the sides, or cut two sides to fit over the top of the dashboard, and then it has two little parts over here that come down on the edges. Let's see. I can show you what that actually looks like. This is the material that I used. Of course, one side is black and it has sort of a leather-like feel to it. The back side is this for allowing you to glue, so whatever the hell this is supposed to be for. But I bought a decently large piece of it. It was really cheap. Because it's from Joann Fabrics, so they sell it by the yard or however. So I think it was like a couple bucks for this much. But that's that part. Let's see. Now, if you can't really see it, but there is gauges down in the hole for where the gauges would be in an interior. They didn't come out terribly well, but you really can't see them that well, so it's alright. What really happened is I had printed out from a piece of, on like a computer printer, a small scaled down version of just a, stock picture of what a gauge cluster looks like, so I just cut that out and glued it in there. It didn't come out terribly well because the glue kind of seeped through the front of the paper. It sort of messed up what the gauges look like, but like I said, you can't really see them that well, and when it's in the vehicle, the only way you'll be able to see it is if you come way in the back and look, like this way through the back window. And even still, my driver and the seat back will be blocking that, so you can't really tell. It's just there for, I don't know, in case you catch a glimpse of it, really. Of course, this part of the dashboard wasn't here before. I had to glue that in. It's glued along the top and on the sides, and then I went in and filled with body filler along this line, so it's a smooth transition down. And then the top of the dash with that black material comes right up to the edge and then stops. And then this is, the second, like a two-tone interior. This is the second color. If you haven't been able to guess, these are your HVAC switches, and then this is a radio, and I have the HVAC vents here, there, and up over there. The radio has, say your preset buttons on the bottom, and then it has, switches for in a stock radio if you had switches, or if most radios do. Switches for like changing the fade, changing balance, your bass and your treble switches. That's what this little panel right here is supposed to represent. And then these buttons would be your presets, etc. If you're wondering, I know I would be. The big part of the radio that's painted black is just, you know, more of this plastic stuff, polycarbonate. And painted black, obviously. And then all of the stuff added to it was actually, or used to be, part of an old Casual Creations adapter. It was just a computer chip, really. And the radio pre-switch switches are actually these little fingers that would be for plugging into a micro USB port. That's what those little switches are. These are all bent up, but those were straight. And what represents the base and the fade switches was actually a little computer part chip thing that was cut out right here. I cut it out, and then I made it. It was extra. It was thick. I'm not sure exactly what part it is on a computer chip, but it was thick. So I took and I sanded it down so it's really, really thin, so it didn't stick out too far from the front of the radio. And then I glued it onto the face of the radio, obviously. And then the screen, which you can see is nice and blue, as if it were lit up by an LED, is actually part of this micro crawler body. I cut out this section down here on the other side and cut it to the size that I wanted, and then glued it onto the face of the radio, which was, you know, this part painted black, and cut the size. And it came out really well, actually. I mean, it looks pretty much like a radio does. It has a screen that's blue, lit up as if it's lit up by an LED. And then, like I said, you have the base, fade switches, and your presets. The HVAC switches, those are pretty simple as well. I actually cut those up from this. This is actually a bumper off of a die-cast tractor-trailer truck. The bumper off the trailer is plastic and had a bunch of little, like, I don't know, knob-looking things on it. I believe those are probably, like, backup lights and blinkers and stuff like that. So I cut all those off, and that's actually what those switches are for your HVAC. Obviously, you have to use your imagination a little bit, but that's what those are. That's how I made those. Pretty simple. And then, of course, the vents is actually pretty accurate to how Ford does vents now. I mean, I don't know if, well, actually, I don't know about brand new Fords, but at one point they had, you know, round HVAC vents with little flappers up and down. Of course, I don't have the flappers, or I don't have an easy way to make them. But what those are is actually off of this set of scale RC plastic bits. That's just an injection mold plastic for various scale pieces. This is actually made by Axial. They put this together. I actually have two of them in case I need extras of stuff. But it has these things down here, which I have no idea what they're supposed to be, but for my purposes, I'm calling them HVAC vents. And that's what they are. Or so that's what they are, rather. And then over on the right, this would be the glove box. And there's also an oh shit grab bar right there that the passenger would grab onto if there's an oh shit moment. I guess we'll start with the oh shit bar. That is actually a piece of polycarbonate dowel, or rod, I guess you'd call it. That is, all I did is heat it up, and then I bent it around on my bender that I had made years ago now. Let's see. This thing, a block of wood with nails on it. The big one up there, that was for bending brass tubing, and then this down here is what I used to bend the polycarbonate, which is what this is. I just took it in there and I bent it, kind of like that. And you can probably see it a little bit better, but this is one of my first tests of it, I guess you'd call it. It didn't work out well because one of the bends got messed up. It didn't set properly after I bent it. So, as you can see, you can see one of the bends there, and then of course, there's a bend on the other side. And then I painted it black and stuck it up above the dash. So this part is an oh shit grab bar, and it does have, you could technically grab it if you needed to. And then of course the dashboard is under that. Again, the dashboard is made in a similar way to the radio. Just another piece of the polycarbonate painted black. And then these are supposed to be the hinges for the glove box, and this is the handle and the lock switch to open and close the glove box and to lock it. These are actually the axle stubs for regular RC cars. The little part of the axle where the pin comes out of, say, let's pretend this is an RC car axle that comes out of the hub, and then you put, then there's a part that goes through this way, and then a big hub comes over it and locks into place. Well, the part that, went across this way, vertical, is what those are. So I cut them down so they're a little bit smaller and glue them into place, and now they're hinges for my glove box. And then, of course, this little part right there that's painted silver is another piece that's off this injection mold thing from Axial. So I just broke that off, painted it silver, and now it's a handle lock setup for a dashboard in my scale F350. So that's the interior, and I think the switch I showed you last time, what that switch will be the switch that controls the LEDs for the cab lights and headlights and stuff. What else? Of course, here's the driver. We all know and love him. He's just a regular action figure that I got from Walmart or Target, something like that. I cut his head off and mounted a skull on it instead because, I don't know, it looks more badass, I think. I do have clothes for him coming in the mail. Technically he's a weird size because in order to fit him into the cab properly, I had to cut his legs a little bit. So he's a weird size. So technically there's not actual clothes made to fit him. So any doll clothes I would have bought, or action figure clothes, whichever way, don't really fit him. So no matter what, I have to modify them. And the other day I was at Walmart, Target, etc., trying to find, doll clothes that would fit there. And while I was there, of course, I saw Ken Barbie dolls. So when I was there looking at Ken Barbie dolls, I noticed or realized that I could actually make any of those Ken Barbie doll clothes fit him with a little bit of, like hemming and cutting and stapling, however the hell I'm going to do it. So that's what I actually have coming in the mail. I was searching on eBay for Ken doll clothes and action figure doll clothes, and I got a pair of jeans coming in the mail for him, and I have just a jacket coming in the mail for him. So he just isn't, his clothes aren't just the, colored plastic crap that the action figure came with him on him stock. He'll have an actual pair of jeans and a jacket to wear. It would have been nice if I could find a hat, but unfortunately, due to, I couldn't really find a hat for him. It would have been nice if I had like a knit hat to put over the big part of the skull, because technically this skull is meant for a lanyard, so it has a hole in it. Granted, you'll never see the hole because it's going to be on the roof of the cab, and you'll never actually end up seeing it. Well, I thought it would have looked better and cooler if he had a knit hat. If I could find one, I'll, glue it to his head. But if not, it's fine without it. So he will have clothes at some point, or actual clothes, rather. And then what I'm in the middle of now, before I get back to work to it, is building a seat. Oops. Which is what all these parts are. These parts down here will eventually turn into legs for the seat. This is where his ass goes. It used to be flat, but I took and bent it around a paint can or something like that to give it a little bit of curvature. The same will be done to the seat back, which is what this part will be, and it'll have a little bit more shape. It's just not going to be rectangular, but for now it's just a piece of, it's squarish. And then, so that'll be bent too to give it a little bit contour. And on top of that, I am also going to put some foam in it to give it sort of a soft touch and, sort of raised seat look, so it's just not, a flat piece of plastic. It's just an added touch. So I have also from Joe Fabrics, I bought some foam that'll be able to cut into little chunks, squish down under a cushion, which is what this material is. I bought also, when I was at Joe & Fabrics applying that fake leather stuff, I bought this, which I thought was a decent material for like a cloth style seat. There's a softer part, and then there's a more finer part. I haven't decided which way I'm going to go with it, but I have some foam right here that I'm going to cut out little chunks of, and then place it like on top of the seat in here, and then I'll fit the fabric that I just showed you over the top of it, cut it, glue it down so it's tight, but it has a little bit of cushion on it, and then my driver will get mounted on that, and then I'll build a passenger seat. I won't have a passenger, but I'll have a passenger seat built the same way. And then there'll also be a center console in the middle, which will have a couple levers for shifting, transfer cases, and of course a steering wheel. On the sides, I'll do some stuff on the sides for like an armrest, and there's some window levers in there as well. So basically the interior will be pretty detailed. And then once that's done, of course, there's going to be a back seat. This is where the transmission comes out. So it'll be a back seat covering that. And then it goes up into the cab over here, which gets mounted on the chassis. And then after that, I got to do a whole bunch more work for a flatbed. But it's coming along. But that's all the work that I've done since the last update. It's coming along nicely. I'm in some more tedious style work, but I do like it. Because it's really enjoyable. Because I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted a radio, some HVAC switches, and a glove box. So I just looked at all of the random junk I had lying on my workbench and various boxes and containers I've collected over the years. And I was like, okay, so what can I turn this into? This looks like a radio. I could use this for radio switches. So that's what I did. And then I said, oh, what's this look like? Oh, that could totally be an HVAC vent. So it turned into an HVAC vent. But that's that. Be sure to subscribe. Leave some comments down at the bottom, what you like, what you don't like. If you got some ideas that maybe I can integrate, go right ahead. I will entertain any idea, really. If I don't like it, I'm not going to do it, but I'll entertain the idea, see if it'll work. Something like that. Be sure to subscribe, check out our other videos. There's a couple other projects. One project that I do in particular is I'm putting I have a Jeep as well. Then I'm putting a different set of axles under, so that's going on as well as this project. That will be starting up in another month, or within the next month rather. I'll be pulling that back out, and there'll be videos posted of that more regularly. But this has been part 5 of Flatbed 50. Like I said, like, subscribe, check out other videos, leave some comments. Have a nice day.